Dog daycare can be the most enjoyable part of your dog's week and save them from the stress and boredom of being left at home. But if they are not the right match for their daycare, it can be a time they dread the most. And so I spoke to Robin Bennett, a dog trainer who actually trains people on how to best run dog daycare facilities. And she gave me her top tips for knowing if your dog is suited to daycare and how to know that a specific facility is a place that you should be happy sending your furry family member.
How can you tell if it is right, and conversely, if it isn't right, what situations would maybe be red flags that we need to think of an alternative solution?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just making sure, it sounds kind of cliche, I guess, but making sure your dog really does like the company of other dogs. And not every dog does. For one thing, puppies for the most part tend to want to gravitate towards other dogs. So generally speaking, younger dogs who have high energy, who really like being around other dogs, are a really good fit. But some dogs would really just rather be with people. And so if you get a dog in daycare who's really, or you take them to a dog park and they're really avoiding playing, or they're really trying to get more attention from the people rather than the other dogs, then that's a dog I would say probably they would have more fun in a different environment. And then senior dogs tend to not do as well. So the really rowdy groups, unless it's a daycare that offers a special group for older dogs, you don't really want to have like 8, 9, 10-year-old dogs in with those adolescents because they'll just be miserable.
Yeah,
so
that
kind of like people, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, that rough and tumble, and think of the old arthritic, old man or old lady, just really struggling in that environment. And I guess that, that then speaks to if people are thinking of their family situation when they're bringing a dog into their life, choosing if it's a senior dog and they're, rehoming one from somewhere else, then thinking about that socialization that dog's had and their temperament and how well they interact with dogs. But for our puppies, that socialization period is so important, and we can actually prepare our dogs for success if we think that they're going to have to go in a dog daycare situation early on in life.
Right.
Cool. So with that in mind, how can we then, go about assessing a daycare facility? So we've said, it's not for every dog, but there are differences in daycare. So what may be wrong for one individual may be right for another.
Right, exactly. And a lot of that is looking at what kind of activities they offer. When I had my daycare, I was all indoors. So dogs that were really high energy, like border collies, they just didn't do well in my facility. They needed more room. They needed more places to run. So I actually referred some dogs to a daycare that was down the street from me that offered that. So just looking at what things your dog likes and what activities they offer, and is that going to be a match? I would also look at the training of the staff, because you do want, obviously, the dogs to be supervised. So I recommend the dogs are 100% supervised anytime they're playing together, not just with cameras or windows, but somebody's physically in the room. And those staff members should have some kind of training on canine body language. So asking about how they are trained and what they're doing to make sure that they're able to monitor the dogs and make sure that things don't get out of hand and that things are a little bit controlled. And then just being able to identify whether a dog needs a break or needs a timeout or just needs some downtime, so they're not just playing and not having one big recess all day long. So I really tend to like daycares that offer more activities and more of a schedule in their day, so that the dogs get a little bit of structure as well as all that playtime. There's some times when they actually get some rest. There's some times when maybe they're working with people, not necessarily just playing. So it really is a lot of the same kind of things you would look for if you're taking your child to preschool or a daycare. So ironic as that might sound.
And are there any kind of associations that people should be members of, or certifications that people can check for?
Absolutely. There's a certification called the Professional Animal Care Certification Council, and that's actually a certification body that certifies individuals who are in the pet care industry, specifically doing daycare and boarding. So looking for someone that has that certification or have staff members that have that certification is a really good way of knowing that you're working with somebody that's probably a little bit higher quality of providing higher quality care, because they have shown that they've got the education to get that certification behind their name. So I do actually love that as well.
The next thing that I tend to think about when I'm thinking about, clients ask me about boarding facilities if they're on holiday, and I imagine it's the same for dog daycares, is actually going and visiting, and having a tour, and maybe leaving your dog for a short period of time. How would you recommend people start implementing, that side of things and actually getting their dog into the facility?
Yeah, I would absolutely take a tour, and most facilities will offer specific times, or sometimes you can drop by, but a lot of times it's best to schedule that so you know you're going to be able to see the dogs playing and hopefully watch. And you want to look at a bunch of dogs that seem to be happy and are having a good time. The second thing is making sure that you do an evaluation. And most daycares, I would be skeptical of a daycare that just says, oh, come on in, we'll bring any dog into our facility. Most daycares will schedule an evaluation where they can bring your dog in and essentially decide what kind of play style your dog has, whether or not the facility thinks it would be suitable for their facility itself and the other dogs that they have, and kind of see what things the dog likes or doesn't like. And then from that facility should make a recommendation of, yes, this would be a great fit, or maybe instead of daycare, maybe you should do some private stuff with a trainer and one-on-one tricks or enrichment. But they're giving you hopefully their best assessment of what would be good for your dog. And then from there, once you have that evaluation, usually they'll schedule time for you to come in for a longer period for that dog. But I do like the shorter, like starting out slow. Don't just throw them into like 5 days of daycare the very first time you show up, because I think that's hard for the dogs.
And if instead of dog daycare, you think that your dog is going to be better off left home alone all day, do you actually know the dangers of them holding their pee for too long? Well, you can check out how long your dog can safely hold their pee in this video linked on screen now. So tap on that video, I'll see you there. But until the next time, I'm veterinarian Dr. Alex. This is Our Pets Health, because they're family.